So if you've clicked on this video, you might be thinking to yourself, what? Dune's absolutely a reference. It's one of the best 4K discs, apparently. Everyone says it is. Deni Villeneuve can do no wrong. Well, I thought exactly that going in as well, and I thought this was going to be my new demo disc, but I was just left totally underwhelmed. I appreciate I'm a few weeks late to the party with this review of Dune, but you know, I nearly didn't do it, but I thought, no, I need to get my feelings out on the presentation of this 4K Blu-ray. Maybe it was some kind of therapy, but yeah, if you're interested in knowing why I don't think it's actually that great a disc, then stick around because I'll be jumping into that in just a few seconds. Hey, what's going on folks? Thanks for hitting up the channel. I'm Andy, Electric Geek, and yes, you have came to the right place for my somewhat negative review of Deni Villeneuve's Dune on 4K Blu-ray. However, before we dive into that and start talking about the video and audio and my thoughts on it, I am going to do just a very quick unbox of this HMV exclusive Steelbook edition of Dune. So check that out. So the 4K Steelbook HMV exclusive edition of Deni Villeneuve's Dune, and I have to say, initially, I'm impressed. I like it. I'm glad I went for this one, I think, over the other Warner Bros. Exclusive one. So yeah, it goes with the whole kind of aesthetic colour palette that was used for the whole film, that kind of teal and blue, and obviously the desert sandy colours. And you've got the two characters running down the dune there. I like the basic lettering across the front, it's pretty nice on the front. Opening up, give you a little look at the spread. The artwork continues across the back of the Steelbook and I think it's really nice. Again, on the spine you have the same lettering with just the Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures emblems. Inside a little flyer with regards to part 2, can't wait for that. And then at least we have some original design on the 4K. You can see that it's even got the Dolby Vision. The logo on it, so that's pretty smart. And then just your vanilla blueprint design for the Blu-ray. And then inside you have the sandworm. And one of the characters running away from it. So yeah, not the flashiest Steelbook. It's got a kind of gloss finish to it. But yeah, pretty pleased with it. I think it's really nice. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I think it's a really cool Steelbook and I'm glad that I went with it over the standard slip edition. So just quickly my thoughts on the movie itself, and in short, I absolutely loved it. I think that they've delivered a truly epic sci-fi adventure for the modern age, and it's unlike anything that's been committed to film. This version of Frank Herbert's world that Deni Villeneuve and his casting crew have came up with is just so immersive and it's so beautifully realised. I will say though that when I first watched it in the cinema, and yes, I'm going to bring up Dune again for any regular viewers, you know I keep frequenting there and I slag it every time, you must wonder where I go. But anyway, I went to Dune. It's not the best of cinemas, it's quite a kind of budget option, it's only £5 for new releases even on the opening weekend. However, I still enjoyed it on the big screen, but I would just have loved to have seen it in IMAX, and I just thought the presentation of it was a little bit dark and dim at times, and I thought that was maybe just because of Dune. But having seen the 4K now, I think that was the way it was supposed to be viewed. I think that is the theatre experience as such, but we'll touch more on that in the very near future. So yeah, watching it the first time, as much as I loved it, I just did feel a little bit cheated at the end because it was originally just titled Dune. I know they've added part 1 to the home release. However, I think it was more just, I was just bitter because I wanted more because I was enjoying it that much, and that's why I actually gave it 4 stars initially on Letterboxd. But I think the more I watch it now, especially for this review, I'm just appreciating it more and more, and I definitely think once we get the second part, I think it will be a 5-star masterpiece as a whole. I was so taken by the world that I pretty much went out, I think a few days later, and bought Frank Herbert's original 1965 novel, so that's what I'm going to be reading to coast me over meantime until part 2 rolls around. Firstly, let's talk about the IMAX ratios. So it seems to be a bit of a recurring theme, a sad recurring theme, that things that are getting filmed in IMAX, we're not getting those ratios when it comes to the 4K Blu-ray releases. So nothing different here with Dune. Sadly, we're getting it cropped in the 239:1 letterbox format, so you will get black letterbox bars at the top and bottom of your screen, and it won't switch aspect ratios like some of the Christopher Nolan movies like The Dark Knight Rises, and that's a real shame. Kind of similar, sadly, to what we got with No Time to Die. We didn't get the IMAX sequences for that, so just to make you aware of that, in case you were looking forward to it. So now that you know that I do love the movie, and I think it's so beautifully crafted and it looks great on film, you'll appreciate why I was so excited for the 4K Blu-ray release. I think I pre-ordered it the second it became available on HMV, the Steelbook edition that you've seen me unbox. So I was just super excited for it. I should mention at this point that my favourite Blu-ray disc, my demo disc if you like, and it's just one of my favourite films in general, is Deni Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. I think it's been out a good few years now, I think maybe like 4 years, and I still think nothing touches it as a demo disc for the video and audio experience. So I thought, naturally, it being Dune, another sci-fi epic from Deni Villeneuve, that Dune was going to be the new boss. It was going to knock this one off its throne. But boy, was I wrong. I was just totally underwhelmed by it visually. You know, as I was watching it, I kept thinking, is something, you know, am I missing something here? Are my settings wrong or something? But I knew they weren't. But you know, it was a Dolby Vision presentation. It's got a 4K native DI, and I just thought, what am I missing here? Why does it not look like Blade Runner 2049? Now, I should say at this point, I appreciate film grain. I also like the digital clean look. I'm not one who picks a side. I think whatever goes with the film, as long as it fits in thematically. I trust the director and the cinematographer, and I totally appreciate what they did with Dune. It actually had quite an unusual filming process. I've just watched quite an interesting video on it, which I'll leave a link to down in the description, where the presenter of the show interviews the movie's cinematographer, Greg Fraser, and he explains that what they actually did was they shot digitally, obviously, and then transferred the digital source, if you like, onto 35mm film, and then rescanned that to end up with the 4K digital intermediate, which is on your Blu-ray disc and what was projected, I believe, on screen. And basically the reason they did this was that they felt that the digital look was just too harsh, too crisp and clean for the world of Dune that they'd created, because it was a bit more ancient. Although it's a sci-fi film set in the future, it's a kind of parallel universe to ours. It's not technology rich, it's more earthy, it's more grounded, and they felt that the digital look just didn't suit that. So what they did was they transferred it to the 35mm so that they could kind of blend the best of both worlds. So you have that kind of natural filmic, softer look that film lends to movies, but you'd also get the detail and the high precision image that digital can capture, you know, the IMAX cameras and whatnot. So that's obviously very different to the filming process used for Blade Runner 2049, so I do appreciate that. However, it's just, there's no HDR pop, it's Dolby Vision. I mean, you could argue that the blue and the Fremen's eyes and stuff is a bit more pop. Yes, all the colours are a bit more nuanced, a bit more realistic, you know, your earthy shades of brown for the sand dunes and whatnot. It definitely lends a much more realistic kind of immersive feel, but there was just no sass to it. There just wasn't that kind of demo quality that I was really hoping for. And the other big issue is that the film was just so dark. I mean, I remember watching an interview that Mark Kermode did before I'd seen the film, and I believe he's seen it in IMAX, and he basically talks about how well they put together this world, how the emergence of the sandworm near the end of the movie was so grand, it was so believable. The IMAX ratio obviously gave it so much scale. So I was really excited, looking forward to this. And in the cinemas, I say, in Aerodine, it was just a bit underwhelming. I appreciate it wasn't IMAX, it was very dark. They put all this time into creating this sandworm for the movie, and I couldn't see the thing. And I thought, surely that's something to do with the way I've watched it in the cinema. But lo and behold, I get the 4K Blu-ray, and I still couldn't see anything. It was still too dark. I just couldn't appreciate the sandworm. And that happened a lot. I mean, towards the end of the film, there's a lot of scenes that are in the dark, and it's just so difficult to make out. I was just really underwhelmed with the video presentation. Don't get me wrong, the detail is there. I'm not knocking the resolution, and it's not the worst looking 4K disc of all time. However, it's just not demo, and I just felt let down because I really thought it was going to be something akin to Blade Runner 2049, which I'm sure if you've seen this on 4K Blu-ray, you'll agree with me, it's an absolute stonker. So when it comes to video for Dune on 4K, I'm going to have to give it 3 out of 5, because as I say, it's not bad, but it's just underwhelming. I really thought I was going to give this 5 out of 5, but I just feel I had to make this video to let people know that if you think that Dune on 4K is going to absolutely blow your socks off visually, I think you're in for a bit of a gunk, basically. So that's my feeling for the video presentation, and that's why I felt a bit underwhelmed. So it's all been a bit doom and gloom when it comes to the 4K Blu-ray of Dune. I do appreciate that. But there is some good news, and that is that audio-wise, it is a demo disc. It's absolutely fantastic. Hans Zimmer's score,
I think it might be my favourite Hans Zimmer score. It's just grown on me so much the more I listen to it. I was reading that he actually had the chance to score Christopher Nolan's Tenet, because obviously he collaborates with him a lot, and he turned it down because Denis Villeneuve approached them to do Dune, and apparently it's one of his favourite books. He knows the source material inside out, and it's a bit of a boyhood dream of his to score this film. So I think his passion for the movie, for the project, is evident in the score, and it really is just as important as what's on screen for this film. It absolutely swells. It just gives so much life and scale to the movie, and there's a really, really good special feature all about how they designed the soundscape to sound like nothing else that had ever been used in a movie, and I definitely recommend that you check that out. But yeah, I listened to the 4K Blu-ray of Dune on my Dolby Atmos setup. Now, it's not the best setup out there, but it is fairly decent, and I'm happy with it. It's a 5.1.2 setup, and it uses up-firing Atmos speakers, and I still felt, even with those, that I got some great overhead effects, you know, just more atmospheric stuff. But you know, when those big like Ark ship containers take off, and then when you get the battle on Arrakis, it's just fantastic. And most notably the scene, I forget what chapter, but the scene where Paul and his mother, Timothy Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson, are in the Thropter thing, and they get swallowed by the sandstorm. You can just hear the sand whistle around with the hum of the propellers as well, and that's a great example of just how immersive and encapsulating 3D audio can be when it comes to your Dolby Atmos or your DTS:X. And yeah, I can't fault the audio. It's fantastic. It definitely gets 5 out of 5 from me. So can I recommend that you spend your hard-earned $24.99 on a 4K Blu-ray copy of Dune? Yes, I absolutely can. I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to make people aware that if you're like me and you've got a similar taste, then you might be a little bit underwhelmed by the video presentation of this disc. That's all. It's a beautiful looking film, don't get me wrong, it still looks beautiful, but I just felt a little bit let down with how it didn't sparkle enough, like the Spice Melange on screen. That's my only gripe with it. So what I'd give it is 4 out of 5. It's definitely not a 5 out of 5. I did consider 3.5, but I think that's a bit unfair on the audio and the video maybe. So 4 out of 5 is my score for Dune on 4K Blu-ray. I hope you enjoyed the video, folks. If you're screaming at the telly right now and you think, oh my god, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I think it's the best disc ever, then you know what, I'm open to debate. Please, I'd like to have a chat with you. So let me know what your thoughts were on the 4K presentation of Dune. Did you agree with me, or do you think I'm talking a lot of shite? Let me know anyway in the comments, and I'll have a wee chat with you. I've been Andy, Electric Geek. Thanks very much for tuning in. If in the meantime you want to watch some more of my 4K Blu-ray reviews, then you can do by clicking on either of these boxes. Alright, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.